Hello, everyone. I'm Carol Hicks. I will be your presenter today, and we are on the Accelerated Learning Pre-Session 2. We're going to continue focusing on the book Learning in the Fast Lane by Susie Pepper Rawlings, and our focus this month will be on just-in-time learning. Remember, anytime you see the journal symbol, you'll know that you'll be expected to pause and respond. If you haven't started a journal yet, you can start one in a Google Docs or in a notebook, wherever it works the best for you. We'll be reflecting every month, so you'll want to be able to have a continuous set of notes that you can access. And remember, don't limit yourself to responding only when there's a journal symbol. When you think of something you might want to remember, write it down. Take a minute to read over this slide. Once you do, I want you to think about knowing what we know from this. How important do you think it is for us to prepare our students, especially our students with learning gaps, for the upcoming new information and new standards that they are learning? Let's take a look at the difference between just-in-case learning and just-in-time learning. Traditionally, we've used just-in-case learning for any students who might need intervention. What do you think about the statements listed below on the bullet points? Now take a minute to go over the just-in-time learning bullet points. When you compare the two, the just-in-time with the just-in-case, which ones seem to resonate with you more? Which makes the most sense to you? Consider this comparison between traditional remediation and acceleration. What are some of the benefits that stand out to you with acceleration or just-in-time learning? Do you think your students will gain greater confidence when they are equipped with what they need to learn new concepts? Before we begin teaching the unit, we need to put some things in place for our acceleration learners. The next couple of slides review some strategies that we have already touched on to help with just-in-time learning. Achieve the Core is a great resource to use when working with your standards. It helps you understand the progressions before your standard and after. You can follow the steps on this slide, the screenshots on these slides, to get to the resources you need. This is where you're going to be making some of your decisions. You're looking at your standard that you want to teach. You're talking about computing. If you're looking at standard 7 RPA1, you're talking about computing unit rates associated with ratios of fractions. So we're talking about unit rates associated with ratios of fractions. If we go back and look at our standard in 6th grade, 6RPA2, it talks about understanding the concepts of unit rate. Is that important to know in order to be able to compute unit rates with ratios of fractions? That's something that probably would be important. If we go back further, 6RPA1, it talks about the concepts of ratios and using ratio language. Is that something that is essential, focused right now for what we're learning to compute unit rates with ratios of fractions? That's one thing you have to talk with your colleagues, your teaching partners, to see, is that something we would need to do, or is that something that's not quite pertinent to what we're doing? You might look back at a 5th grade standard, 5NFB7, which is apply and extend previous understanding of division to divide unit fractions by whole numbers. Is that essential for the skills that you're needing? These are all questions that you're going to think through, you're going to talk with your colleagues about, and find those prerequisite standards, those skills that are absolutely needed to be able to teach your new standard. This is the page that you get to once you click on the Map Standard button. As you can see, there's some standards on the left and on the right of the standard that you're looking at. On the left, you're going to use that line to look at what are those standards that we need to teach, those laser focus standards that we need to teach before teaching our standard. And on the right, you'll see this is the direction our learning is going. Both of those things are vital in teaching your standard. The one is we have to have those prerequisite skills in order to be able to successfully complete the standard. The other is so good to know what direction we're taking so that when you are teaching or facilitating discussions, you know the important points that are coming up. Another thing on this page that you'll notice is down at the bottom, it has tabs. It has tasks, assessments, prior grade level tasks, assessment items, and focus. Those will be tabs that will have different resources. So when you're looking at the standards that you need to teach before you teach your standard, look at that prior grade level task. There may be something in there that you would want to use. Once you get to teaching your standard, there's also tasks that will help with your standard. So this page has quite a bit of information on it where you're going to be able to make a lot of decisions in what and how you're going to teach your current standard. So once you've determined which prerequisite skills need to be taught before you teach the new standard, you're going to find out which students need those skills and which of those skills they need. Once you have that, you know your standards, you know your students, then you're going to look at the prior grade level tasks. You'll look and see which one of those tasks or which tasks are going to be the ones that will help your students be prepared to meet that new standard. That kind of levels out the playing field for all of our students. That brings the equity in. So make sure you take a look at those, make sure you know which students need them, and most importantly, you're going to teach those before you've even addressed the new standard with your regular core class. So at this point, you might be a bit overwhelmed. It is overwhelming. So we want to remind you to focus. One thing you can do when you're looking at the slide before, there was a button at the bottom that said focus. This is the page that it takes you to once you hit that button. On this page, you'll see the major, supporting, and additional clusters in your grade level. Remember to focus on the major. You're going to be teaching with those major standards, using the supporting standards, but really continuing to focus on the major. You'll get some additional clusters in as you can, but again, we're focusing on the major standards. So once you start to feel overwhelmed, once you start to worry about that time crunch, go back and see what are your major standards for your grade level. I wanted to remind you that there are some differences between the Common Core state standards and the Idaho content standards. They're not big differences, but there are some small wording changes, and sometimes a number of a standard may be changed just a little bit. You can find those differences on the reference for curricular materials. It's on the state website, and I also have a link on our resource page. Here's an example from the Common Core State Standard and the Idaho Content Standards. What differences do you notice in the two standards? This website is pretty amazing. If you log on to smartertoolsforteachers.org, click on the Connections playlist, and then sign in to the mathematics in your grade level, it'll take you to a page that has all the domains on it. This is what your page will look like once you click on the domain. So on this page, you'll notice, first of all, this connection connects student performance to instructional resources. You can see the topic going down the side on the left. On the top, it has the below, near, or above standards. So you can see what they can do if they're a little below, what they need to do if they're near and above, and kind of use those to help with your progressions of what you could do to help students be ready for your standard when you're teaching it. If you scroll down on the page, there's suggestions for interventions. So that's going to help you significantly with finding those prerequisite skills. It also has things to consider. It has a description of an IAB background, the description. It has academic vocabulary, just all kinds of resources. In addition to the things on this page, if you look at the links in the left in the gray left under the topic, those will take you to lessons that are focused on the topic. The nice things about the lessons as they are step-by-step instructions. They have learning goals, success criteria, step-by-step instructions with a lot of explanation in them that talks about guided practice, independent practice, has exit ticket information, and then it has all the attachments for the materials that you need. It also has things to consider. It talks about a formative assessment process. This resource it's just an amazing resource for the standards that you need. So I want you to take the next few slides are show little screenshots of those resources. There's one more slide that has additional resources. Just please take some time to look through those and see, look at the resources that are available to you and see if you can figure out how they would fit well in your classroom. So this is our big takeaway today. Remember to scaffold and practice essential prerequisite skills. Also, remember to be very focused in your prerequisite teaching and only teach what is needed for your current standard. The following slides give you the reasoning why scaffolding is important and what devices and strategies you can use to scaffold. Okay, you all. So remember to complete your pre-session journal prompts, which are located on the next page. Complete those before our next monthly collaboration meeting on Tuesday, November 7th at 5 p.m. Also, you will want to come prepared with a standard or standards from an upcoming unit that you can use to determine the essential prerequisite skills using the progression resources. You will also see that we have added a shared contact information form that you can complete if you would like to share your contact information with others in order to coordinate work efforts for the collaboration time in our next Zoom meeting. Thanks again for completing this pre-session and check the website or contact Angie or myself if you have any questions.